we're going to be joined by Rebecca Peach, the CEO and founder of Legacy for Lives, because we're going to be sharing what help there is out there for planning a funeral. If you need advice on this or you want to share your experience, please do give us a call. Get in touch. 0207 862 2222 is the number that you need, and we'll speak to you in just a moment. But let's meet Rebecca. And, Rebecca, how did this come about? It's sort of almost like a price comparison site, or a site which sort of helps you out in how to put a funeral together. How did it come about?
It was sort of watching my family navigate. We lost my lovely Auntie Kathy to cancer, and basically just seeing my cousins navigate it and being the older family member, I wanted to sort of support them in some way, but I just found myself absolutely not having any idea of how to plan a funeral, the costs involved, and basically sort of giving them some support.
Yeah.
So I just sort of did a bit of research and saw that there was nothing on the market that allowed you to go online and be supported from start to finish, understand documentation, admin, through to wishes, wants and needs, and then to sort of price comparison. So we set up Legacy of Lives, a free comparison site, to allow you to sort of navigate this awful time.
Yeah, because you're right. It's a terrible time emotionally for people, but then there are all these logistics and something that for many people probably might be the first time that they're going to deal with it. Danny, I know that we were chatting earlier. You're not that comfortable talking about all this, were you?
I hate talking about death.
Why?
Well, because
unfortunately, I've got some bad news for you, Danny. One day you will die.
Do you know, I think it might be sooner than I imagined, because I think she's got COVID or something. She's coughing. And I thought they were going to measure me up. I thought they were at Channel 5 were going to ask me to lie down on the floor.
There's a conspiracy theory here.
Yeah, I do. It's a superstition. It's just, it's just the mortality of our life, and it's questioning about things like, is there a God, and all of that sort of nonsense. And it's just, it's internal dialogue that I've always had. I've just been petrified of it.
Are you scared of you dying? Or are you scared of people you love dying?
I love dying, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I think speaking about a funeral doesn't mean that you're going to die. I think it's about leaving your wants and wishes to the people you leave behind to make it slightly more bearable at that time.
Danny, it's a little bit like saying I don't want to talk about car insurance because I don't want to think about sort of having an accident.
Well, no, I don't think that's a suitable analogy. Car insurance is a necessity. Dying isn't a necessity that you want.
But a funeral,
a
funeral is a necessity.
It's not. No, but you're benefiting from car insurance because it's a financial necessity.
I think that organising a funeral is more important than
Right, okay. No, right. Let's not get bogged down in the philosophical, the ethics of. But look, Rebecca, the one stat that really sprung out to me reading about, all the difficulties that people have, almost 1 in 8 families find that the money that it costs for a loved one's funeral is beyond their means. It's out of their budget. And that is the reason that we are talking about it today. So why are funerals, we talked about earlier, £4,000 the average cost. Why is it so much?
I think it's depending on what you want, burial, cremation, there's lots of stuff that goes into it, burial plots. I mean, 4,500 is no whistles and bells. It's just an average, basic national cost as well. So if you're living in a sort of a city, that it could be much more expensive. But realistically, you're probably looking about 9,500 for the cost of dying. That's everything.
Rebecca, we chatted, didn't we, in the green room? I just think it'd be really interesting for the people watching the show. You were saying about like that pressure when you sat in the funeral place organising. Do you want the cheap coffin? Do you want there's that people need to navigate. But the other thing that you told me that, I've lost my train of thought. See, this is HRT for you. But you were, I can't remember what you, I thought, I'll remember, it'll come back to me, sorry.
But it must be, I mean, it's a very good point, Danielle, mate, that you are sat there, you're not in a state possibly where you might make the correct decisions, and what are correct decisions, but sort of sensible decisions that you would have thought about earlier when you weren't in that state. And you're right.
And the help, that was it, the help.
Do you want the basic, cheapest?
The funeral companies can
do you
give
want the basic, cheapest model, or do you want something a little bit more frilly?
To be fair to the funeral directors, I don't think it's necessarily their guidance. They're just there to sort of support and show various sort of items. But if you're dealing with a loved one, you always go for the best. So to be able to compare and look and seeing how much in the comfort of your own home does make a big difference.
Well, let's take a call because Heather in Fife has got in touch. Heather, thanks so much for getting in touch. Good afternoon. What would you like to ask?
Hello, Alex. I'm just wondering that there's so many of these new companies springing up with offers for £1,000, £1,500. You don't know exactly what you're going to get because you're so confused. Plus, what I want to know, is there any official body, spare the pun there, that governs these people? If I heard a story of a man who had a company and these poor people gave money for their funerals or their parents and he ran away with it.
Right.
So
a good point.
all I want to know is that, yeah.
Is there regulation, basically, is what you're asking?
Yeah, that's are they regulated?
Yeah. Rebecca, what can we say? Let's deal with the regulation thing first. Is there regulation in the undertaking industry?
There is. Well, there's two different variants. So there's a prepaid marketplace, which is a bit more like it's regulated by the FCA, so your money's always protected.
Yeah.
But with at need, most funeral directors won't. Well, no funeral director should be taking money in advance because obviously that's under the prepaid. But the at need is just covered by the Consumer Marketing Authority, which is basically when you walk past the funeral directors, you can see a price point in their window, little 6 font, and it sort of goes through everything that they offer and their prices. So we look at Safe Hands, which was the company who went under, which then brought about the FCA regulation. But most companies won't take any cash in advance anyway, so you should be safe.
And what Heather was saying there, you've just mentioned, and from all the research we've done, the average cost of a sort of a basic funeral is around between £4,000, £4,500. If you're getting companies offering you a funeral service for £1,500, I mean, is that one of those things which just sounds too good to be true?
It depends. Obviously, there's direct cremation. There's a lot that goes into variants of the funerals. It's just you need to do an investigation about your wants and needs, and just it doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything untoward. And there's certainly different associations that you can check, like the National Association of Funeral Directors, and various other sort of associations that you can sort of check their legitimacy. But it doesn't necessarily mean that no. But direct cremation can be very, very cost effective.
Okay. Let's look at some options available for people who are struggling with costs. What help is out there?
There's, depending if you are sort of receiving any benefits, there is a funeral expense payment which covers some of the cost of a funeral and up to £1,000 for additional items such as burials and gravestones. You would have to check to see sort of what benefits you're on and if you qualify, but that is one section that you can sort of look at. Another is the Children's Funeral Fund, which many people don't know about, which is anyone under the age of 18.
I didn't know about this. So I buried my daughter at 18 months and I didn't know. We only talked about this in the green room, didn't we? I didn't know anything about it. However, I did get help from the Meningitis Trust. So I do know that charities out there will help as well. But no, I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
I do have to put a special mention, only because I've spoken to her many times, Carolyn Harris, who is the Labour MP for Swansea East, I believe. She was the one responsible for bringing the Children's Funeral Fund, and she also has her own story. She was a dinner lady. Her son Martin was run over, and she got into financial difficulties in trying to pay for his funeral. So when she became an MP, she got a bill passed, which is an incredible achievement when you're not in government, to get children's funerals. Anyone under the age of 18, you get help from the state, which I think, every time we sometimes get a call here saying MPs don't do anything. Well, some of them actually do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's the Children's Funeral Fund. What else have we got?
There's a public health funeral, which is if you have no family or relatives or people that can actually cover the payment, and that's where the local council or authority actually pays for a simplistic funeral, a farewell for you. And then there's also the bereavement support payment system, which is very, very good. It's not reliant on whether you sort of have any benefits. It's actually followed by your national insurance, so how much you've paid over the years. So, and that can range up to £3,500 for a one-off payment, or 18 months of £350 a month. So well worth sort of investigating, which covers you through those terrible months post, losing a loved one.
Okay.